Welcome back to the James McGee Show. I am your host. I am James McGee. Let's jump into part two of five-part series of how to fix the immigration crisis in America. It's not that hard. It took a dumb motherfucker like me about 3 hours to sit down and come up with a blueprint. That would work. The problem is do we have politicians with balls to implement it? This doesn't involve mass deportations. This isn't mass chaos like we're experiencing right now. This is a long-term permanent system that would work. But we have the politicians with the balls to make it work and make it happen. So number one, the most simplest, and we're doing it, finally doing it, secure the borders. That's the first thing you have to do. If you're not going to secure your borders, then nothing else matters because all you're doing is shooting yourself in the foot time and time again. So you have to do what Trump did, secure the borders. That was real hard, right? That was real hard. He did that, what, 2 months? It's amazing what happens when you start letting people do their jobs. When you start letting these Border Patrol agents do their jobs, you know what? It's not hard. You know what it is? It's about priorities. Priorities is what it's about. Biden's priorities were not the border. Well, it was the border. Let them all in. That was his priority. His priority was not Border Patrol agents, increasing or keeping up with the numbers. Because you have turnaround, you have through attrition, you lose people, right? You know what his priorities were? His priority was hire more IRS agents to come after me and you, to put a microscope up our abs to make sure we're paying our taxes. That's where his priorities were. While he let the borders run wild. So what he was doing was making sure that me and you, hardworking Americans, paid just an astronomical amount of taxes. You know why? So we could support these fucking deadbeats. The people coming over here with their hands out. That's where Biden's priorities were. So Trump's priority is to keep them out, right? First thing was keep them out. Now that he is done a good job, his administration and Border Patrol has done a good job of keeping them out. Now it's time to start getting the ones who were here illegally out. But this has caused mass chaos throughout our country. But why is it that big of a deal for us? Why is it bad for America to have borders? Why are we the only country in the world that should not have borders? It's inhumane for us to have borders. Everybody else has borders. Look at some of the countries that this rapper, what's his, Bugs Bunny, Bad Bunny. Look at the countries. I didn't watch his show. I'm not even getting into all that. I'm not getting into that debate. I don't really give a fuck about the NFL or any of that shit. But I watched some of the highlights, some of the shorts of it, and I couldn't help but notice he highlighted good morning, Tyler, the Americas, all the South America and Central America, and highlighted these countries. Okay, well, let's look at a couple of the countries that he named. Okay, Costa Rica. Talked about Costa Rica yesterday, one of my favorite countries. Hey, you know what? Costa Rica has borders, and they have deportation laws. Why can Costa Rica have it, and we can't? He also mentioned Bolivia. They have borders, and they have deportation laws. Peru. He mentioned Peru. Borders, deportations, and re-entry bans. Chile. He mentioned Chile. Borders which can result in fines, prison, and you know what? Deportation. Why is America the only country that having borders equals hate. I'd say it equals love. When you have borders in your country, it's not hate, it is love. It's love for the citizens of your country and their well being, physically, mentally, financially. That's what it's about. Good morning, Britt. Number one, you got to secure the borders. And right now, that job is done. So since that job is done, we can move on to number two. This is going to stun a lot of you because was not familiar with this. And I really dug into ITIN. So what is ITIN? ITIN is a number that is like a social security number. It was created. It's an individual tax identification number. Basically what it is, brace yourself for this one. ITIN, individual tax identification number, is a social security number for illegals. Yes, you got that right. It is a social security number for illegals because they can't get a social security number. Now, they'll disguise it. Someone say it's for people who can't get social security numbers, like people here to work. That's bullshit. So ITIN does not give you the right to work. It does not give you any sort of immigration status, any sort of work authorization, or make you eligible for Social Security benefits. It's a tax ID number for illegals so their employers can pay them and deduct taxes. So what it was introduced in 1996, okay, let's think about 1996 for a minute. Who was the president in 1996? Slick Willie. What was going on in 1996? Slick Willie was getting some hot mouth in the Oval. While Slick Willie was getting hot mouth in the Oval, you know what happened? They slipped the fast one on him. Now, he's probably in on it. See, what it is, it wasn't about, it's not about them paying taxes. See, what had been going on for years is if corporations or companies or farms or whatever wanted to hire illegals, I'd hire them off the books, pay them cash under the table. Well, now with this tax ID number, these corporations, they're not supposed to hire them, but they said it doesn't give them work authorization, but they can pay them, and the company can get the tax benefit, can deduct it off of their taxes. So that's what it's about. 1996, taking care of their billionaire buddies and the corporations. I hope you're as shocked as I am. We are giving ID numbers to illegals. It's an IRS number. So they go to the IRS, they apply for the IRS. Hey, I'm here. I snuck over the border, but I need a number so I can get a job. And they give them a number. Yeah, they're paying taxes, but we know that's not what it's about. It is not a legislation. It is not any sort of law. It can be taken away like that. It can be discontinued like that. So I'm calling on the Trump administration to discontinue the ITIN program immediately. And I don't want to hear it. We need it for other reasons. If you get a green card, you get a Social Security number. If you get a HB1 visa, you get a Social Security number. This is strictly used for illegals to be able to work. It is bypassing the system. It is a liability. It is bypassing the system. And what it is, it's an incentive to break the law. It's an incentive to break the law. You come here, technically you can't work, but you can because we're going to give you a number. And now these corporations can hire you and you're paying taxes. So when you take this away, and like I said, it can be taken away like that. The IRS can discontinue this immediately. Take this away. So what happens? They can't work. We have this mass migration because of the incentives. No consequences. First off, it's no consequences. That's bad enough. Second, we're giving them incentives. We're incentivizing them coming here illegally by giving them avenues to get jobs. You want a job? You do it the right way. Through a green card or an HB1 visa. And I will cover that later on how we have to do better at that. I agree we have to do better. But all this has to come into play first. We have to do this first. So to recap that, ITIN is basically a social security number for illegals. It can be taken away by the IRS like that. There's no law. And all it has done is give an incentive for people to come here illegally and for corporations to hire them when they know they should not. We're going to talk about the corporations in one of the steps too. They have to be held accountable. But it starts right here. Get rid of the ITIN program immediately, done. And they will deport themselves when they can't work and they can't get government assistance, which is one of the steps we're going to cover probably tomorrow. Or I think that's actually next. When they can't get government assistance, what's going to happen? They're going to go. They're going to leave on their own. So we don't need mass deportation. We don't need that. Let's move on to number 3. Goes right into this, just like I just said. Pass legislation that anyone illegal or undocumented cannot receive any type of public assistance. Now, that's a pretty simple statement. It's going to be the hardest one. I mean, it makes the most sense because right now they're saying, all these states that have been doing it, Minnesota, California, etc., New York, they're trying to backtrack saying they don't. Yes, they absolutely do. But there's so many ways they can do it that we have. It's going to probably be the hardest thing to do. It's the most logical. It is when they can't come here and get a job without doing it the right way, and they can't get on the government's tit. When you take the cheese away, what's going to happen? They're going to go home. They're going to self-deport. That should be the ultimate goal, is to not want them, make them want to stay. We don't want them wanting to stay here illegally. We don't want them to come here illegally, right? But once they get here, we want them to realize, hey, this isn't the picture that was painted to me. I have to go back and do this the right way. I'm going to self-deport, and I'm going to apply for one of the programs that are out there. That's what we want. This should not even be in a debate. This should not be an option. Your biggest challenge of this is going to be these fucking NGOs. That is so being exposed right now. The corruption with the NGOs. It's so easy and I did a show on this several months ago, how many NGOs are out there? How many, there's thousands and thousands of NGOs that are getting government grants. So what happens is we can say, okay, the federal government can't give illegals food stamps or can't give them welfare checks. But what happens is you'll get some NGO, and there's always a politician at the bottom, or actually at the top of this. They'll funnel the money to an NGO, and then the NGO will get the money to who the illegals, whoever these politicians want. So that's where the work's going to have to come in, but it can be done. It can absolutely be done. First off, recognize what the problem is, and there's a solution there. But the NGOs is going to be the one. If an NGO wants to give their money, their non-government grant money they collect from donations, from whatever, from private companies or private individuals, they want to give that to illegals, fine. That's their money. That's none of our business. It is our business they're here illegally, but you know what? We don't regulate that. If I want to give a $100 bill to an illegal person for them to get something to eat, that's my $100. I can do with it what I want. But when these NGOs start using our money and fraudulent apply for grants to feed Americans, house Americans, and they're doing it for illegals when our law says you can't, there's a problem. That's what we have to do to fix it. Again, if they can't work, you take their illegal Social Security number, it's unbelievable, and you deny them public assistance, then they're going to go home. You don't have to. You can probably fire Tom Holman. He's probably ready. He's ready to be fired. That guy's, he's in his 60s. He's ready to go home. You can get rid of him. The problem will be solved if we implement these steps. The immigration problem will be solved. But do politicians have the balls to do it? As I can tell you this, we all know this. If we don't know by now, it's because we're just blind or we're stupid. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about these illegals. It's about their power and it's about their agenda. Be back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, with step 4 and 5 of how we solve the immigration problem. Because we absolutely can, but are we willing? Are we as American citizens willing to hold our politicians accountable and quit letting them fucking gaslight us continuously? Till tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, remember, no one's coming to save you, and the world does not give a fuck. McGee is out.